All right, welcome one more time. So I'm going to try to finish up inequalities. We're going to talk a little bit about how to graph inequalities. Now that sounds a little intimidating, but we're not going to use the entire coordinate plane. We're actually just going to use the number line and graph it, and I'll show you what that means. So first, before you can graph an inequality, first thing we got to do, we need to solve the inequality. We need to simplify it down as far as we possibly can go. So here's what that looks like. 6x minus 4 is less than negative 10. Well, I want to isolate that variable, so I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Okay, I'm going to do that addition subtraction first. That gets me 6x is less than negative 10 plus 4 is negative 6. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 6. So I get 1 times x is x, and that is less than negative 6 divided by 6, that's negative 1. All right, so I've gotten this far. This tells me that all of the solutions to this particular inequality have to be less than negative 1. All right, what does that look like? So we're going to draw a number line out here. And now I'm a mathematician. I'm a little bit lazy, and I don't like to write out more numbers than I have to. So negative 1 is kind of a key feature of this solution set. So I got negative 1, so I'm going to put that right there in the middle instead of having to write out 0 and all the other numbers on the number line. And then I'm going to pick one number that's on the right of negative 1 on the number line. So it just happens to be 0. And then I'm going to pick one to the left, which would be negative 2. Okay? This saves me time, saves me effort, and I still get the job done. All right. Next thing you want to do is you want to circle that number that you have on your inequality. So I got x is less than negative 1. So all of my answers are going to be less than negative 1. So we're going to shade the side of the number line that is less than negative 1. So let's see, negative 1, negative 2 is less than negative 1. So we're going to shade this side right here. Now, how shaded it is, that is completely up to you. Just make sure you indicate that this is the side where my solutions are going to be. So that means any number that is on this side of the number line, I can plug in here, and I will get a true statement. But here's the tricky part. Remember how there were 4 inequality symbols? There's less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. And there was the not equal to, but that one's nice because once you get that, you stop. This equal to piece, it plays this role. This circle where I've drawn negative 1, our solutions either include negative 1 or don't include negative 1. X has to be less than negative 1. It cannot be equal to negative 1. That means negative 1 will not be a solution to this inequality. So I actually just leave that circle open. That open circle means negative 1 is not part of the solutions, possible solutions for this inequality. So I just leave it like that. Okay? That's your graph. You're done. It didn't take that much. Let's try this one. Same deal. We're going to solve it first, and then we'll graph it. So solving it, we'll subtract 11 from both sides of my inequality, and I get 6 is less than or equal to x divided by 2. Then we'll multiply both sides by 2. Okay, multiply both sides by 2. I put 2 over 1 here because this is a fraction, and it helps me see where the 2 is being multiplied. Since these are across from each other, we can cross cancel, and that'll be 1 and 1. So x times 1 divided by 1 is just x. And 2 times 6 is 12. So 12 is less than or equal to x. Now here's the one more place where I would probably flip the signs. Okay? To read this a lot better, it's easier to read if the variable is on the left side. So what we're going to do is we got this thing is called flip-flop. Okay? So what I can do is I can actually flip the number and the variable as long as I also flip the sign. So instead of it being 12 less than or equal to x, I'm going to write x and 12, and I flipped those, so I'm also going to flip the sign. X is greater than or equal to 12. That's the only other time that you would care to flip your inequality. So when you multiply or divide by a negative number, which we did not, okay, then you would flip the sign. Or if you want to read this so that the variable's on the left side, that also would be a time when you can flip it. This helps me a lot. So for instance, x is going to be greater than or equal to 12. So when I graph this, First, I'm going to put my 12, one number to the right, so 13, and one number to the left, 11. I'm going to circle that 12. And I know all the x values that are greater than 12, that's where I'm shading. So 13 is greater than 12, so that's how I know the side I'm supposed to shade. Now we come to the circle. X can be equal to 12. So because it can be equal, we're going to shade in the circle as well. And that is how you graph your inequalities. So good luck. This is pretty short, pretty simple, and I hope it helps.